Can you tell people what you do for a living?
Здравствуйте, everyone. I do politics in the sense of practical politics. That is to say, whenever you see someone shilling on the internet, someone like me in the background has written those talking points. That's essentially what I do. That's what political operatives do.
That's a good question. How does a country like Germany, which is probably the leader in the European Union for green activism and reducing zero emissions, ambitious project, how does it manage to have like two major pipelines coming from Russia with all their environmentalists and NGOs?
Well, you have to remember that green activism in Germany, in the Federal Republic, so in the past, the West Germany, and then after unification, the whole of Germany, green activism, at least since mid-1970s, has consistently been directed from Moscow. Either paid by Moscow or paid and even explicitly directed. There was a Russian officer being the chief of the NGO.
Where could people find some insight into this if they look online?
Well, start with... Well, there is even a cultural reference for this. There is a German TV show, you can easily find it with the English subtitles, called Deutschland. Deutschland 1983, Deutschland 86, Deutschland 89. It says season 1, 2, and 3. You can start with there and look up the name of all of the NGOs mentioned in the TV show, and you'll have plenty of reading to do that. And even more recently, I mean, there was an environmentalist NGO made by the premier of Upper Saxony, also a lady from SPD, who was essentially funded by Gazprom. Transparently so. Now there's a huge...
It's a big scandal, with Gazprom.
And it's not the first time or the last time. Again, it's been happening for more than 40 years. The green activism in Germany has, in most of the time, sure, not all of it, but most of it was either funded by Russia or funded and directed by Russia.
We have that here. When there's Americans doing fracking, all of a sudden there's activists and they're protesting.
Yeah,
and when there's Russian doing fracking...
Gazprom project have never been protested, yes. The NGO responsible for that is called Agent Green. In Romania, it is true, and those people are very likely funded by Russia as well. But they keep their funds for outside of Romanian bank accounts, so it's very difficult to prove it. But it's not impossible. So eventually they'll be taken down by a court. But until that happens,
it's sus,
it's sus for sure. Since that was the case with green activism being funded by Moscow, of course, their green activism generally opposed nuclear, which would create energy independence for Germany. They supported all sorts of so-called green technology, which would definitely not help the energy independence of Germany. And they suddenly had a change of heart, and, gas is not fossil enough, so gas is green.
When?
Oh, well, it happened gradually. It started after 1990, and it culminated with the Европейский Союз, the European Commission decision in 2021 to essentially say, yes, gas is part of the green taxonomy. So it was a very long effort, but it worked. From Moscow's perspective, it was a huge win. And that's how Germany ended up having, because if gas is green, then therefore more pipelines are great. And, where do you construct the pipelines from? Well, let's not construct them from Norway, because it destroys the fish species between Norway and Germany. No, let's build them through the Baltic Sea, because apparently there are no fish there or something. I realize it is ridiculous, but that's how things happened. And it was a very gradual effort. And it's not like it was unknown. As early as the summer of 2014, Poland and Ukraine in particular, but then all of the other intermarium countries as well, protested at the European Commission. Look, you shouldn't be building Nord Stream 2. It's a very terrible idea. You're increasing your dependency on...
Famous picture with Donald Trump.
Then in 2018, Donald Trump, mocked the German leadership at the UN.
And they were laughing at him.
Yeah, and they laughed at him. And, it's not like they didn't know. They knew exactly what they were doing.
But that's why it was funny.
So now when it affects Germany, the sanctions on gas affect Germany.
We need to tighten the belt.
Yeah, I'm like, good.
we need to be more solidarity in
How about Germany manifest some solidarity with the rest of Europe, and in addition to consuming less and yes, staying with 17 degrees Celsius in their houses, how about you also pay a little bit of money, for instance, to Poland, because Poland has
reparations. Yeah.
hosts 1.7 million Ukrainian refugees, in addition to the previous 3 million
Oh,
Ukrainian
no, they're
citizens.
also asking for reparations.
Oh yeah, and also reparations for World War II. Yeah, how about you pay up? Would that not necessarily bankrupt, but definitely economically shake Germany? Yes, but I think that's a good thing, because Germany hasn't paid for the crises it created. Because again, it's not the fault of Poland that Germany is fully dependent on Russian gas. It's not the fault of France that Germany is fully dependent on Russian gas. And it's not that just Germany, unfortunately. Belgium also has a nuclear power plant scheduled for decommissioning.
They just decommissioned one, yes. My analogy, and by the way, the New York Times made an article saying that complaining about the energy crisis means
far
you're
right or something.
No, means you're an ally of Putin. Like even talking about it. And imagine that you're in a castle and there's an enemy besieging the castle, right? And the troops are starving. It's been a couple of weeks where there's no food. And at one point, the commander manages to find a room that's filled with food. So the priest decides to burn it because he says that gluttony is a sin. Now, if you talk about it, they say, no, you're with the enemy that's besieging the castle.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's pretty much what Belgium did by shutting down the reactors, like during an energy crisis in the middle of it. And they say that the reactor was in disrepair and it couldn't be fixed. That
even if that were true, as long as there is no radiation leak, so a serious safety concern, you shouldn't be shutting it down before a winter that you expect to be very difficult energy-wise. Other countries have been more saner about this. So, Poland cranked up their coal production. The same thing happened in
Britain started fracking.
Britain started fracking. Good for them. This should have happened 6 years ago, but okay, better later than never. Romania started cranking up its coal production, and also the work on the small modular reactors, which will be, I hope the technology pans out, because that would be absolutely awesome.
Some hydropower plants are being...
some of them are still blocked in court by various eco-Marxist freaks, but I suspect
the horned viper, it's...
Sorry, what?
The horned viper, it's an endangered species, and you can't crank up the hydro reactor because...
Yeah, I suspect that will be solved by the end of this winter, but what I'm saying is that it's everyone for themselves, and of course there is the new contract signed with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan finds itself in a glorious position. I think they've ever been in that good position, geopolitically speaking, because they can essentially kick out the Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh and can do whatever the fuck they want there, and nobody's gonna tell them anything, because Europe needs their gas. So Aliyev can do whatever he wants on his side of the Armenian border. And Armenia can ask for help to whom? To Russia. Oh wait, they tried that. It doesn't work because Russia can't. Russia is a bit busy somewhere else.
Yeah, it's also having more problems around the borders with Russia. There's more conflict. I haven't looked into it. There's like two nations fighting, and NATO is taking sides.
Yeah, well, NATO eventually will have to side with Azerbaijan, or prefer not to say anything, because Azerbaijan is the long time ally of Turkey. And at the end of the day, we, the rest of Europe, will have to cut a deal with the Sultan. Look, we're going to allow you to expand further eastwards with your influence in Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan and so on. But in return, just drop the neo-Ottomanist BS in Bulgaria and Albania and Macedonia. We're going to integrate those into our sphere of influence, which is probably a deal that the Sultan will accept. Nevertheless, there is the gas in Azerbaijan. There is also the interconnector between Greece and Bulgaria. The southern pipeline, Turk Stream, will eventually be converted to transport Azeri gas rather than Russian gas. There's also a new gas reservoir discovered in between Cyprus and Israel, and construction has already started there. There's also the new gas from the Black Sea that has started being exploited in Romania. It's already flowing through our pipelines. So things are changing, but fixing this will not be possible in a few months. It's going to take several years. And yes, we should have done it before. We should have done it in 2014. But, people voted for more of the same, and political...
Green energy.
And green energy and so on. So...
Do you feel that...
Что делать? Ничего делать. What to do? There's nothing to do.